Hello, welcome. I'm going to do a quick reading, I think, between appointments for the collective. I've got some cards out, so I might as well just go for it. Colin just had something to say about that already, so there we go. I've got two decks out right now that I'm going to be using for this. This is for the collective. These two decks are called, there's Urban Tarot, and this one is called New Moon Tarot. And Colin is already here to say hi. Of course, he's already jumped onto the mixing board. And Colin, you're a lovely man. Yes, you are. He has a message for somebody. I'm not sure what it is, but Colin says hi. Well, he's going to interrupt for just a minute before we get started. Very snuggly little guy today. He woke me up with the snuggles, which is not something he normally does. So today might be a snuggly day for anybody who's watching this reading. Just so you know, Colin's here to give you some snuggles. His fuzzy coat. Okay, that's about that, Colin. Here, you go on the top bunk. Ooh, he didn't make it, but he's okay. Everything's all right. Everything's okay. Yeah, a bit of a snuggly mood today. My spirits are, like my personal kind of spirits inside, are feeling like something has been released, or something has been kind of that feeling of a changing season, really. Of course, as I'm recording this, it is like the transition. Well, we're pretty much full blown into the fall now, but it's been very warm weather, so I feel like there's just this kind of this. Today's like one of those days where it's very clear that it's the fall now, and it leaves me in this snuggly mood. It just does. So it's a feeling of release, that there's past and that there's present, and future is a dream. And future being a dream is kind of the same as past being a dream. We dream about the future just the same as we dream about the past. So that might resonate with somebody. I'm going to see what I get in the cards, and pardon the lighting. I'm not sure if it's so great. These cards are very shiny, so I'm not sure what we're going to get out of it. But if you can see them, that's that noise, the church noises. Okay, so the first cards I've gotten is Three of Swords, upright, which doesn't surprise me, and the King of Cups. I feel like my audio is really quiet. Colin might have affected the mixing board. Let me turn it up a little bit. There we go. That in my voice doesn't feel like it's kind of lower energy today. That's about it. There's an outside energy. So collective energy is going to be right here. It's really interesting that sometimes some of my readings, sometimes what I get is messages after I post readings about how the message is about a dynamic between me and them. And I have to say, like, when I do these readings, collective readings, I really am seeing myself in the same position as the collective. Like, so as much as, yes, we can mirror our own energy. When I talk about an outside energy, that's not in our awareness. I'm being genuine to say that it's not in my awareness either. So this whole idea that I'd be giving a reading that's, you know, a direct communication with somebody rather than just speaking to them directly. You know what? I just have to say, like, that's the furthest thing from something that I could possibly generate. I'm not that smart. I'm not that smart. So if it is something of a communication between me and another person, it would be very through the lens of a spirit of some sort. And I just this Three of Swords I resonate with. I resonate with this Three of Swords because it's this idea that there's something kind of scary about, you know, snakes. There's something very scary about snakes. Three of Swords, of course, is that, you know, broken heart or thoughts about a broken heart. It's a scary feeling, and it's about fear. Swords are about thoughts, but I feel like in the tarot and a lot of decks, like, they're really about fears. What are we afraid of? And so in the collective, there's a fear, and I can resonate with that fear. I do have fears sometimes. There's an energy on the other side. It's basically kind of an unknown energy. It's, you can handle this, you can do this, that kind of a thing. And so if I'm feeling this fear right now with the collective, anything that you might be afraid of right now, something that kind of debilitates the heart and has us coming up with all kinds of things that, you know, what do we do when our heart is disabled, when our heart doesn't have a clear channel? That's the idea here, I think. This is a very melancholy reading. So that's okay. I'll continue the reading and see with this deck for a little while, and then I'll move to the other one. This is just going to be quick, I think. I'm kind of feeling a little bit like my energy, even just in pressing record and then starting to do these cards, like, it's really draining. Like, there's something draining on my energy, or feeding off of my energy. That's what I feel. So if you're resonating with that, maybe we're going to figure out what that is. It's through the channel of fear. It's because we have fear that, I'm just going to say that right here. It's because there's fear. There's an outside energy that feels like fear is like presenting, here, have my energy. You can handle this, King of Cups. I can handle this, you can handle this, everyone can handle this. It's kind of like a King of Cups. It's like being an expert in something and then trying to teach that thing to somebody else. We take for granted how much we know. And sometimes we can skip over important details that we might need to kind of help somebody understand first before we proceed. Yeah, really, really draining energy. Like, it's almost like I can't hold a thought. And this is it, the Three of Swords. It's like I put my fears into the heart. And like, I'm hugging myself right now. This is what it is. I'm literally like holding myself when I'm doing this. This is like what I feel like doing in this energy. It's like putting the thoughts into the fears, and in that way it's hard to focus on anything else, or at least it's holding open a channel where outside influences can drain energy. So there's a Queen of Cups here under the King. It's like more of a gentle approach. I feel like this is the same energy, and it's like, if this is a story of some sort, and if I pick up on a story, it would be, this Three of Swords would be saying, like, I don't know if I can do this. I'm pretty afraid, like, of moving forward. I'm pretty afraid of, and it could be like, I don't know, like somebody who's standing at the edge of the airplane about to go skydiving, like, I don't know if I can do this. And then this is like the expert skydiver is like, it's all right, you got this, you can handle it. Don't worry about it. It's so totally safe. Well, they know it's totally safe because they have all that experience with skydiving, except for this is your first time skydiving. So it's like, that's not really helping me right now. That's not what I'm worried about. I know you do this thing all the time. That's what got me up here on the plane, but that whole stepping off of the edge energy. So this Queen of Cups is like the same energy who's observed that it doesn't help the fear. The Hermit in reverse with this same energy is somebody, it's like they've observed it, looked inside their self and remembered the first time they did skydiving. Let's just say skydiving. And so they've softened their approach. Queen of Cups. Rather than saying, absolutely, you've got this, if I can do it, you can do it kind of thing. They might be somebody who's saying, you know, I was afraid just like you one day on my first time. So I can totally understand what you're saying. And they relate to this energy. This softens things. And actually, this is what provides like this sense of security. Oh, you were afraid too. I see. That makes sense to me, you know. I can understand, like myself personally, I can understand when somebody relates to my situation rather than when somebody points at my situation and tells me what it is. That makes sense. So I think that's what this spread is about, and that's where we start. I'm just going to grab a few more. There's the Knight of Cups in reverse. Would this be a younger approach? I'm getting kind of like in the earlier days. So if this is this energy, this King, Queen of Cups, it's kind of like the Cups family. It's a family of skydivers. Or it's somebody who has many different approaches, and somebody who got to be a king. At some point, they must have been a knight. They were new to this at one point, too. The knight's not, I mean, the Page of Cups would be completely new to this thing. And fear isn't necessarily something that just comes when we don't have experience. But Three of Swords is, of course, about, it's kind of like those thoughts that block us from feeling what's in our heart. Fear. Is fear an emotion? It could be just thoughts that block us from feeling emotions because we don't want to feel something. Knight of Cups is offering how they feel. World, reverse. There's a whole lot came out here. I'm not going to take it. It's too much. Asking for something a little bit more clear. Energy channels. I keep feeling and seeing these energy channels, these like what we project outward ends up being where we draw energy from. Careful where you throw your projections. The Emperor. Exactly. That's exactly what this is. So it's kind of like this young energy that just throws their feelings into anything and everything, or the world kind of being like, this was a necessary stage of things. It was basically throwing feelings out into the world. Now there's an Emperor on the other side here, someone who is interested in control. Now, collective energy, this might be the Emperor. You might be in a situation right now where you're observing a younger energy that kind of puts their all into everything. they kind of are just kind of jumping in. I'm just getting this sense of this deer, okay? So I'm imagining this deer just jumping onto this planet, and like the cups kind of has this idea that they're going to just envelope the entire world. They're just going to throw their love out into the whole world, and it's just going to encapsulate or surround the whole world. Whereas if it is this deer, like the deer's going to plant its hooves on the world, and it is going to land in 4 specific spots. There are like this idea that as much as our emotions can have us visualizing that we have the whole story, we definitely do plant our hooves in specific locations, and we don't plant our hooves in the whole situation. And that's kind of our physical limitation. So even though it is a card about cups, we're talking about a physical creature. This controlling energy here, this idea that it's almost like it's a wisdom. So you might be witnessing a younger person who is having this idealistic view, or this kind of like romantic view. So this is like kind of like the difference between romantic and classical ways of living. Now, this is a lot. This is a lot. I'm just going to show you the cards that come out. I'm not going to take it. It's too much. I'm looking for more clear messages right now. This reading, I don't know. I can imagine you can feel this energy that I'm in. My head feels heavy. I have a bit of a, like, there's a draining going on. Like I said that already, and right? This hanged man, this draining. This is kind of like, okay, this is a this is a really morbid. But when you hunt a deer, and what do you do at a stage of kind of, processing? You hang the deer upside down to drain. That's kind of part of things. I've never seen this actually visually, so I don't have a visual of this, but I have a visual. I've seen rabbits like this before in my travels. So I don't know, maybe one of you is about to have some rabbit for dinner, which is very tasty. Draining energy into the world. Basically, it's like the visual I'm getting is that the idea of the ideal of surrounding everything, but the reality of the situation being that we plant our hooves in 4 specific locations. It is quite a sharp planting, and then that kind of pierces the world, and then we just kind of like drain ourselves into those holes that we've pierced. That's really graphic, but I think it might resonate with some people. Like you might see somebody doing that, or you might kind of like understand now at this point that that's the way it goes, kind of thing. This is very general, of course. And there we go. But here's the issue. Anytime the Emperor would want to kind of give some advice to this knight then becomes the King of Swords. Now, King of Swords is a pretty powerful person. And see this new strategy here with the kings is to kind of like soften their approach. It's to land on the world, with more surface area. Still does have a dent, but it might not be a piercing effect. This is swords, however. It's that strategy of laying down in the face of a challenge. It's like, okay, you're right, you're right. And then that kind of like, there's power to be gained from that. 9 of Wands here is talking about maybe you're somebody who's been trying over and over and over again with a certain energy to explain what you see, or to to help even. There's like a helping. An emperor like kind of wants to like be in control of everything, wants to, make sure everything goes okay according to their plan. I am going to, put that out there. I think if this is emperor energy, let it resonate with something that you're comfortable hearing this message with, okay? Because emperors would be comfortable hearing this message. You're controlling. An emperor would say, I know. And admit it and own it, and that's the way it is. So it might be like something simple like how you keep your own space. Like you might have a room or a house or an apartment or something, and you like to keep your house a certain way. And you have every right to do that. And when you see somebody kind of piercing through your system and trying to change things or trying to like, I have this better idea, why don't we put the couch over here kind of thing. And it's like, no, you have no idea. I control this and I do everything for a reason. I have lots of experience. It goes best over here, the couch, because X, Y, Z, I've already been there. I already know. And so, well, fine then. That's kind of like this King of Swords. So I'm starting to tell the story of two people who are maybe thinking about moving in together, or it could even be like people who have recently moved in together and who it's like this, maybe somebody has entered into your space. Now that's just one story that might resonate for anybody who's watching. And this emperor is kind of like, keeps trying anyway. Maybe also understands that this is kind of part of things. What I really like about this reading is that it's like a lot of light energy. This deck, the Moon, it's called the Moon Tarot. It's got light and dark energy, like kind of very drastically shown. And I see that like the Emperor would be aware that the way things are appear to others, they don't know how things appear to others, They don't know what kind of power somebody has to manipulate with their own kind of laying down energy. What they do know is they see somebody who's kind of draining their energy into their ideals, and they see that they're going to keep on trying with this person because you know what? There's like this romantic energy. This doesn't mean romantic as in like, a loving couple kind of energy. The romantic I'm talking about is like an artistic way of being, an aesthetic that there's somebody who has. And here comes Colin. Now Colin is, okay, let's talk about it based on Colin and Dirk. Colin is a classical man and Dirk is a romantic man. This is the way it works. This is the way things we know. Colin is a life path 7. Dirk is a life path 5. That's just, people have one leaning or another. And so this would be somebody who might have a life path 7, and this might be somebody who has a life path 5. This reading could be about Colin and Dirk, and it could be about Colin. He's actually nosing at this deck here, so I think it's time to switch. He's getting in the way. Colin, I think, came here to say this reading is kind of about Colin and Dirk. Colin's trying to tell Dirk something about, okay, listen, you moved into my space, and I know how I like things. This is Colin right here, okay? I know how I like things. And I have very good reasons for why the toys go over here and why the garbage plasticky things go over here. Colin does. He keeps things in certain spots. He has very good reasons for those. I don't understand them, but he knows. And then there's Dirk, who kind of is all over the place. And he's just like wants to do something new, and he wants to, he wants to be innovative. And Colin tolerates it. I'm just going to let Colin... Are we going to try this again, Colin? Do you have anything to say? That's what Colin has to say. Let's try again to put you at the top. There you go. So Colin might have, patience. This 9 of Wands is about patience. That's the word that was supposed to come out. And he's just going to come on over here again and pick some cards, I guess. He has something to say. I don't know what it is, but he's got a message. It looks like he's picking cards, so let's let him go for it. I'm a bit worried about his tail here. Let's move this around. What are we doing, Colin? Well, we'll take Colin's spread as we do. I think this is Colin's first tarot reading for YouTube. And that's it. I think he wanted this card right here. That's what we got. So we'll take it and we'll see where we go. Being patient with a younger energy who's trying to change the world, who's trying to put their mark on the world, not quite understanding that when they put too much of a mark on the world, it drains their energy. Now, I put this over here naturally. Valor, this is 7 of Wands. This is the Emperor telling this Knight of Cups, who's kind of presenting as a King of Swords, like, fine then, we'll do it your way. It's kind of like, but I mean, like, that's not the nature of a King of Swords, but it's just the nature of a Knight of Cups who's kind of acting bigger. And maybe it's even the Emperor who's telling, you know, the King of Swords here, like, telling the Knight of Cups, like, you've got swords for feet, all right? So try tucking them in and try rounding out your energy a little bit when you interact with the way things should be. The world is kind of like this concept of everything as a whole. A cycle finishing, yes, but in the center of a reading like this, it's kind of more about a concept. The Emperor is warning the Knight of Cups here. Valor, 7 of Wands. This is like, if you're going to plant something, make sure it's what you believe in. Stand up for what you believe in. Stand up for what you believe in. Lay down when you don't, when you want to, it's like when you want to learn, or lay down for a lesson. So this Emperor energy, as like, we've got to be careful with this energy because it can be very, what would we say, like, controlling is a good thing when it comes to our own space. Let's say, for example, if this is like somebody who's come into our space, this could be like, hey, this is somebody who wants to wear the shoes inside. It's like, hey, take your shoes off. And they're like, why? Like, don't you think that the dirt gets in anyway? And then this person's like, look, I know about shoes on inside, and this is the way I like it, and I have lots of reasons for it. And then they're like, okay, fine. And then they like won't walk around. This is like a cheeky energy that's like, well, then I'll just sit right here and I won't walk anywhere, but I'm keeping my shoes on. It's like they're draining their energy into what is ideal. And when an Emperor perceives that energy, they perceive what they're standing up for. So this could also be basically the whole other side of the story, is like somebody who's interested in learning from you. Somebody who's interested in learning why you do the things you do, and the things that you're an expert with, the things that you have a lot of experience with, the things that you have a lot of control over. The story starts with this Emperor telling this receptive energy, either receptive or maybe a little bit, I'm getting both. Like, there's, for some people, the energy might be like, they want to actually learn. And the other side of things is like, this is almost like, fine, tell me everything then. And they're like sitting there with their arms crossed. And I don't know if they're listening, but either way, they're asking you to tell your story. And this might start with an Emperor saying, well, the thing to do is to understand where you stand on things. What do you believe in? Those are the things that it's okay to pierce the world with. It's kind of like Feels almost like a master-student story. Now, I'm not saying that you feel like a master in any which way. Wheel of Fortune and Power. Now, these are all upright, which is very interesting. This power. And see, like, it's just these wheels, and power is gained over time. This is Emperor again, I think, in this deck, isn't it? Or wait, no, I think the Emperor's, I think this might be 4 Pentacles. Goodness, I'm not too familiar with this deck, as familiar as I thought I was. Well, 4, it's either Emperor or it's the 4. 4s resonate with this kind of like controlling energy. So 4 of Pentacles in Rider-Waite is like somebody who's like holding on to. So really interesting. We've got this kind of like curled up energy in the King of Swords, and it's like somebody who's holding on. So it might be a bit of an imitating energy. So that kind of lends to maybe you're teaching somebody something right now about the way things are for you and the why you do the things the way you do. There's this kind of like, if you hang yourself up in your basically your ideals of the way, you just want to kind of like stomp and make your mark. Don't forget that the next step after that is to hang yourself up and bleed into that. You have to feel that. And so careful where you tread is the advice here, because what you say, what you do, how you feel in any given moment, we're not here to control our feelings. They kind of just come. They're a little bit more like they arrive and we respond to them. But it's kind of like how we walk, how we share our feelings. It's like there's not just the one way. There's many different ways. We continue to bleed into that over time. We have a memory, and that's what this Wheel of Fortune is about. There's this idea of conserving resources, like careful. Be careful where you step, because you have to be careful of what you're about to bleed into. You're going to have feelings about things long after the event of stepping. Over time, there's patience. Have patience over time. And so I guess that's kind of like the structure of this reading. I can't stay for too much longer. I've got to go. I have another appointment. But I'm going to... I feel like now there's a bunch of stories that come out of this structure, is what it is. It's kind of like I've described a structure, and I'm going to tell a bunch of stories now. So let me grab just from... I'll just shuffle this up in case we end up taking more cards from it. And reflect on that energy a little bit. I don't know how this sounds. Like I'm feeling a little bit detached or disconnected from, understanding the things that I'm saying. Because it's that draining. To teach, be careful where we plant. And so I feel like I'm being told, too, to be careful where I plant my thoughts. Where do I plant my words? I have to think and remember what I said. And I'll have a record of it once I post this video. These cards, I've got to say, they are very hard to shuffle. This is the edge of my abilities here, my stretch. So now you know. Okay, so in terms of a bunch of stories, I'm just going to go for it and tell a few stories. The first one, this is what I'm feeling drawn to do anyway. This is about somebody idealizing you as an artist. Queen of Swords, called the Painter in this deck, really cool. It's about a thought artist. It's about somebody who, maybe people consider you to be somebody who has a lot of really innovative, interesting thoughts. Actually, you use thinking as an art, maybe. It's like you paint a reality with your thoughts. It's imaginative thinking, which I'm sensing it's like the light shines on you for this. Like it's a talent that you might have. So if you resonate with that, it's the idea here is that it's not so much that you're teaching somebody how to think like you. It's that somebody looks up to you, Dominion. Somebody looks out. Somebody's looking for someone just like you. So this might even be a career thing that you might have a unique way of thinking about things in your work. I did get work right away. Artist, so you might be an artist, and you might have this kind of like unique way of doing things, and you're often into the ethers with your thoughts. Like, I don't think you're going to notice this person, but they're going to notice you. There's a noticing energy here. If this was the past spread, like internal energy, I'm getting that it would be something of like, I feel like they're going to want you to turn around and take a look at their off. I'm really feeling like this is a desire to approach you. So if you resonate with that, maybe you're an artist by career. There might be like somebody who wants to approach you. And the strength here, yeah. See, like there's this idea of careful where you tread, careful what you pierce with your thoughts. This is actually the opposite message. So my apologies, but if this is like you would tell people to be careful about, be careful what you say or whatever. Or maybe you've been given that advice before. Like, be careful what you say to somebody who's interested in you. Because interested in you, I'm talking about like they want to hire you or they want to be involved with you in a project. Like there's this two energy, like it's imagination. Somebody's imagining someone just like you, and it's just a matter of the two of you meeting up at some point. Strength. The message is actually opposite. Keep doing what you do. So if you're just doing your own thing right now and you're not too concerned about inviting anybody else in, you may be working on your own to create something, or you do a certain type of work that only you do and it's very unique to you and nobody else could do it. There's someone in the outskirts who's interested, and you're being guided here in this reading to keep doing you, to not let that change what you do. There's this strength here. Hold up this strength and tame this energy, because it is exciting to be compelled to. It's almost like you would have to turn around to take a look. And in that way, you become their energy. It was like in order for you to turn around, you would have to become their energy. I don't think that this energy is ready to approach you yet. If this is romantically, like, I feel like, yes, you might be sensing on the outside, romantically as in relationships this time around, you might be sensing some kind of I can feel that there's somebody watching me. I can feel that there's something looking. I can feel like I'm attracting certain energy, but it's like outside the sphere here of what we can see, because we're busy doing our own thing. I know that there's more in there. There we go. Death and Tower. Holy cajoles. Is that even a... I think I've heard somebody say that before. I've never said that before. So if you're somebody who would say that, I have never ever said holy cajole. I don't even know what a cajole is. Holy cannoli? It's charming. I almost want to look up what cajole is. Wow. I'm just trying to read this Death Tower situation. Death and Tower is a lot like when I read Devil and Tower or Devil and Death together. These are like these dark, dark, dark cards in the tarot. Like Devil and Tower kind of to me like always says like addiction, and it's just kind of like, you know, Death and Tower. It's somebody who's going through a major change or something. It's somebody who's really had it's near death experience. Oh my gosh, I'm going back to that skydiving. Oh, here we go. Near death experience. Right here. It's like how this story plays out. You are the emperor because you continue along your own path, despite the fact that there's this energy on the outside kind of almost attracting your attention. Almost. It's not strong enough to attract your attention. And here's the thing, like, if a near-death experience isn't strong enough to convince you to turn around, if it's like, if this is strong energy, but it's not strong enough to veer you off your course, here's your strength here. You're strong enough to kind of like tame this energy. This might be too chaotic for you at the moment. It could be that you need this clarity moving forward and you can't really take on this I'm ready to change everything energy. It's like potential. It's looking out at how to change my whole life, this energy right here. And it's somebody who like literally wants to go skydiving just to jolt themselves into a new perspective so that they can change everything, because it's like I automatically imply that they're not happy where they are. And I feel like there's something of feeling that. There's this lion here is kind of growling. I'm not happy. And this Queen of Swords, rather than turning around and becoming their energy, there's this doubt about that. There's this thought, this decision to trust oneself. That even if we were to imagine turning our energy into this here, this kind of death tower, I'm just going to totally reinvent myself. Like I'm going to do something completely different. Like I'm just going to jolt myself out of my current reality. There's this here. This understanding, knowing who you are. I feel like this is in the collective energy. This might be in regards to something where you see somebody just trying to change everything. And it's like, hey, careful where you tread, because, you know, you're going to pierce the world with that. You're going to pierce your world with that. And remember what happens after we pierce the world is we hang up. We're stuck with our world, and we've got to bleed into it for a while. And this might be somebody who's not happy with the world that they've stuck themselves with, and then they want to just completely change things again. And I'm getting this message here, this Queen of Swords is just like, yeah, I've got other things to think about right now. Like it's like almost like the Emperor is softening their energy to a Queen of Swords. The Emperor does hold a sword. And this Queen basically uses that sword to decide to look elsewhere. So as much as there might be this interest, it's maybe somebody who wants to change themselves into something that you would find attractive. I feel like that very energy of changing yourself into something, or them changing themselves into something that you would find attractive, is actually what is not attractive at all. That kind of thing. So you might be up against that right now or in the near future of like, kind of like, you can hold out for somebody who just kind of aligns with your way of being. I want to see what you're holding out for. If you're resonating with this story, I'm going to tell another story as well. Wow, 6 of Swords. Now, this word has been coming up so much lately. I feel like there's somebody, at least one person in the collective, who is currently investigating Kundalini. because this keeps coming up whenever I see a snake. So if anybody's doing that kind of like really intense yoga to like awaken and open up chakras, and like a lot of different like it's like there's not 6, there's not 7, there's not 8, there's like 126. I don't know if I'm getting that number right, but because I'm not very, I don't know everything about that, but it's something about this snake that crawls up your spine. And there being blockages in the way. This is a heart blockage. So that message, as much as I don't know much about Kundalini, there's this idea of there being a heart blockage for this rising that's supposed to be happening. It's like this coily snake that rises up the spine here. It's the 6 of Swords. The word science is under here. And so it's kind of like you're setting your sights on yourself right now. I see that. I see that you've got your sights set on activating something, and that there's this blockage in a heart chakra. Or one thing I have read is that there's like these monumental blockages the snake is supposed to be rising, and then it needs to get through these different stages. There might be one that occurs in and around the area of heart chakra. I don't actually know. I feel like I've read that there's like 3 or something. And this is a long time ago I've read this, so I'm not being, but I am getting that. It's coming up, like talk about that thing about those blockages, those like major blockages that prevent. And it's kind of maybe more this here, the painter. It's trying to, like painter's snake, trying to do this in such a way. Is that a painter's snake, gardener's snake? Like I'm getting this idea that it's like a harmless snake, trying to make it so that this snake is harmless. And this is, of course, we've got Mercury here, communication. It's like communicating with our inner kind of energy system. Like knowing oneself through this process, where this is somebody who's like thinking that if they just go skydiving, that they're going to experience an awakening. This is somebody who is like willing to open themselves up to whoever is willing to pull that blockage out of their heart. Whereas this is somebody over here, you collective, who wants to do that in a controlled way where it's not harmful to you or anybody else. You know what, we do plant somewhere, and so don't regret that. Or I can't tell you not to have regrets, but there's this idea like you do have to make choices, and it is going to be sometimes to kind of turn away from this kind of chaotic energy. This chaotic energy of like just trying everything and anything in a drastic way, and getting super involved in this thing in a drastic way, like for like a day or something. Like this clock on the wall, really, like, is it even a clock? There's a clock on the wall there. It's really getting me. And the face, it's like, it could be anybody, like putting your life in the hands of anybody. It's like somebody who reads the Dr. Atkins book, and then all of a sudden they are like all in on not eating carbs before actually seeing a doctor about it. It's like trusting one doctor because they have the word doctor in front of their name. Whereas, I don't think Dr. Atkins was actually a medical doctor. I think this is a PhD. I might be wrong about that. But anyway, Dr. Atkins died of a heart attack. So I don't know if we can trust Dr. Atkins about what's good for the heart. Some people really do benefit from that diet, I guess. And if it's dieting, if it's somebody who's doing extreme forms of dieting, or it could be somebody, this could be like plastic surgery. I'm okay with all that stuff. I'm not going to make a judgment about it, but I feel like here on this side, the collective is kind of like, I'm going to do this more slowly. This is a slow, smooth. 6 of Swords sometimes is a very sudden change. I feel like the sudden changes are subtle. They're subtleness, and we're really honing in, like, this is a calm energy. It's like taming and getting really, really tuned in, quiet to listen. Energy where this is just utter chaos, totally uprooting everything. So contradictory energy here. And how do we filter out the chaos to continue our vision? Again, this could be about work. Like, I am talking about, like, I did talk about, like these ideas of spiritual awakening or, total body transformations, things like that. But I'm thinking this, I've always had this work story here, just sitting at the surface. And it's like, take a look at this person, this Two of Wands. I'm getting a lot of messages out of these cards. Take a picture, take a good look at or feel. I think you can already feel this energy that this is somebody who changes things up all the time. They might say to you right now, like, oh, you're perfect for the job. I'm going to hire you. And then you kind of know that they're not very reliable. They don't keep that same enthusiasm for you all the time, or for other people even. Maybe like you're able to observe them without even looking at them. Maybe you can just know that about yourself, that the amount of chaos they bring with them is kind of a chaos that can't commit to something a lot more subtle, like you're going for, a lot more long lasting, a lot more gentle. The last message here before I go. There's more stories in here. Interference. Eight of Swords. This is a choosing not to see it. Choosing not to let it in. This is how we become experts in the field of ourselves, or experts in the field of whatever it is we do. When we feel that energy being drained from us, or the potential for that energy to be drained, we can just acknowledge that we planted ourselves in that position where that energy could drain us. I'm getting blocking. You might have had to block somebody for the next step of where you're going. Or you might have had to set up a barrier. Interference. This is like seen as like TV. It's like white noise. It's like almost like a distraction. Distracting yourself. This could be actually listening to white noise. You might have like a white noise machine that you use to kind of distract the chaos of the world. I mean, I can resonate here that sometimes when I'm meditating, it's very difficult to meditate when the traffic's thick outside, because I just keep hearing these trucks and cars going by. And it is great exercise to filter it out, but sometimes I do like to wear earplugs or listen on headphones to some white noise, or even like some light music or something. That could be part of it. That it's like these sudden jolts are really not where you're headed. It's kind of taking you away from where you're headed. So it's almost like setting up this blockade between you and that chaotic energy that's constantly changing things, that's constantly needing to uproot everything. Or it could be as simple as a big loud truck driving by. I can't hear that. I don't want to hear that, because it takes me away from perceiving the subtlety of what's happening. This is what I'm going for here. I'm working on my heart right now. This is that energy. I'm working on my heart, and there is a big, I think, I don't know this about, I'm not an authority on Kundalini. So I'm just saying that what I'm sensing out of this card is this heart is the biggest part of the job. That it's the hardest part. It's the most intensive part. It's the most subtle part. It's that idea of an emperor who is aware. To be careful where we tread, to be careful what we pierce. Because we're piercing our own heart when we pierce the world around us. And we're going to bleed into that world around us. Wow. Neat. Okay, I'm just going to grab one more story because I feel like that there was this idea that there are many, many stories, and I kind of tend on YouTube to sense them and only tell like one or two. I'll try and tell a few more real quick before I have to go. My appointment is in half an hour. Okay, I can do a few more cards. I really said that I was going to go. By now. I have my alarm set for... Oh, I don't think I set it for the right time. That's really funny. Okay, Princess of Discs, Kindergarten Teacher. Look at that card. Kindergarten Teacher, I really like this card, okay? Like, this could be literal. You could be a kindergarten teacher. You could be somebody who's guiding children, okay? And in that way, guiding children, it's like children are chaotic. That's just the way it is. They're so chaotic. That's how they go about things. And let's not talk about it just with children. When we're new at something... Oh. When we're new at something. Okay, I see this. That just creeped me out for a minute because I got kindergarten teacher and the seducer, and I'm like, I don't want to tell that story even if it was there. I'm going to tell the story about somebody who understands, maybe because you work with children, maybe because you've been close with children before, you babysit children, you mind children, you have children. Your friends have children, however it is, and you observe children and you just know they're chaotic. There are the odd kid who's like super, super calm, and it's like they're almost like they're an adult. There's something about... There's a message here about letting kids be chaotic. The message is about kids who are forced to be adults too early. What's that thing where parentified children, something like that, children who are forced to be more mature than they are. It's kind of like that genius child thing where like you see this child who knows how to play like play some instrument or something. They're like a prodigy, and they're really, really good at something. And then when we kind of like look at what happens to those children after the fact, as they grow up, they never got to have a childhood. I know this is kind of like super cliche, but I'm talking about like Michael Jackson, like, and again, I get this here, right? This kind of, I'm not going to talk about that, but it's like when we don't let kids have this period of chaos, it really does cause harm. Like eventually they're going to go for it. Eventually they're going to find it somewhere else. And it's that this chaos is healthy at a certain age or at a certain level of newness to something. So it's not our job to subdue all chaotic energy. So even though there was that message in the previous spread, this is for some other people who are kind of like, yeah, well, you know, I'd love to live a life where I just get to sit in a quiet room all day and meditate and activate my my awakenings. But I have this chaotic energy around me. I have children around me, let's say. Or this is what I do for a living, is I'm with these chaos for a living. So the idea is that not all chaos is counterproductive to spiritual development. Newness has to be expressed at a moment, like in that moment, and then we can know from like these like I can't help but see the creepiness here, the seducer. What happens when we There's a dog barking outside. Do you hear that? So that's a great example. There's a dog outside barking right now. They have their alarm. They have an alarm bell. And the dog barks. That's just what dogs do. That was what they were bred to do, is to protect their homes. Danger. Okay, this is a story for somebody in particular. Be careful. There's a danger. Knight of Cups is here again in the upright. You might be new to something. This is like somebody who's at like a billiards bar or something, or, you know, meeting up with a date, online dating maybe. We're meeting up with somebody for drinks. I'm getting this real creepy vibe out of this. I'm getting this kind of like the creepy vibe. Why am I getting... is this a horse? Yeah, this person has a horse tattoo. I'm just going to listen. See, here we go. I'm actually embodying it. It's like there's a chaos here. I'm sensing like this chaotic energy. Somebody who isn't quite grown up in certain ways, and they will be chaotic. It's kind of like it'll be surprising. Like, are they a child or are they an adult? Question mark. I think we all have that. Here we go. Love. Look at that. Yes, I see it. Okay, so this is that idea. Now they're coming in the upright, which is really nice. When we approach something with a certain intention, we tend to not see the dangers of things. This is maybe somebody in the collective who's approaching a situation, and I'll think about what that means for me. I'm not quite sure yet. It's not resonating with a particular story for me, although I can say like it's like having hopes of something very specific happening from one encounter. Like meeting somebody and being like, oh my gosh, this is the one. I can't believe I found the one, and I'm going to, this is like a wedding photo here. It's like, or it's like going out into the dating world and looking for somebody to get married to. That's kind of like, it's kind of putting out this kind of creepy vibe for me here. Although this is nice cards, like, let's say, because I'm read time generally this way. It's like this intention is set of lovers before the initial meeting. I'm looking for love. And then there's somebody who's trying to seduce someone into loving them. And that it's controlling. It's an emperor. Whereas over here we have the kindergarten teacher. It's somebody who's kind of just observing natural chaos in the world or in children. And 7, chaos, debauch. Look at that. Okay, we might be talking about like, it's like kind of 2 ways to go about it or something. It's like out there looking for something, kind of not really perceiving the creepy energy that comes there. That there's predators out there who are looking to take advantage of people who are so bent out of shape about what they're looking for that they will shape the situation into what they're looking for. That's the idea there. And here, so careful of that if that's what you're up to. If you're being too specific about what you're looking for, you actually will start seeing it in all kinds of things, and you might not see. Keep your eyes open for red flags is basically that message here. Over here, this is like just being okay, observing the chaos of things. Again, there's a warning here. At a certain point, recess has got to be over and we've got to go back to class. That's like the kindergarten teacher energy. It's like, yes, I'm going to really enjoy watching these children. Let them get that energy out. So if you're observing somebody in chaos and they're around you, you've got to let them spend that energy. But don't let it turn into total debauchery. You don't have to. Children don't have to be chaotic all the time. They have to be chaotic sometimes because that's kind of their energy of learning, and that's how they learn. If we're talking about children, or if we're talking about that energy of like a chaotic energy, a friend who's like you might find distracting you, let them be chaotic. We don't have to loathe the fact that they're chaotic. That blocking energy in the middle that we had with the 8 of Swords, that doesn't mean that it's like there's something wrong with them. It's just where they're at. We can think back to a time when we've had to be chaotic ourselves. We can think to a time when we've been able to observe chaos and let it be, and just don't let it turn into debauchery. So we might even be talking about a friend. Wheel of Fortune yet again, over time. I mean, I'm seeing a whole other story here as well. I'll finish that first story. It's like kind of like too controlling and we don't see the red flags, not controlling enough and it turns into debauchery. Over time, we're going to go through all of those different phases. Like, so we're going to make mistakes is basically this. We're going to make mistakes. Alternative story that exists here overlaid at the same time is basically like a very practical story about first comes dating, then comes marriage, or I'm reading it kind of like as if the wheel's spinning like this. So it's like I read this and then I read this. Dating and marriage, and then over here, the chaos of children. This is kind of like a path that somebody might be on. Is that if you needed that confirmation, like, is this person I'm dating right now turning into the things that I see from my future? It's really funny that it's debauchery here, and it's like drinks, and it's like going to the club, and whatever this is, like, this could be what you have as an idea of what a fun, chaotic good time is let's start a family. That's this idea. It doesn't have to be that it's something that socially is called, debauchery is just uprooting your life. It doesn't mean it would uproot everybody's life. Maybe you're somebody who once said, I don't want children. And then maybe now that you're thinking about it and that the opportunity is being put in front of you to do that kind of thing, it's like maybe something that just shakes up your life. And so there is something to be said for letting that chaotic energy in to shake us up too. So that's in this sense of like, dating and marriage and children. I've got another story laid over top of that. Reminiscing about the youth. It's like basically like this backwards flow here. And I would say this is somebody who is, how do I put this? Timeline going in one direction, whereas mine is going in another direction. So like it would be like people who are crossing paths. So it might be that you've just stumbled into this reading and you might not ever watch another reading of mine again. That you've just kind of skimmed by and saw this reading. That this message is for somebody like that. Maybe not necessarily that, but just more like we kind of like have different ways of seeing things, you and I. We have it. We're headed in different directions. Let's put it that way. And pleased to meet you, and Godspeed on your path. This is like remembering the good old days. It's somebody who's in something that's committed, who is reminiscing on the good old days when things were so much more simple, but heck, were they ever chaotic? But it was like they were less determined. Chaos in this sense is exciting. Chaos is like, I'm really sensing a struggle with commitment. Maybe considering going back to the single life from being married. So somebody who might be considering like a divorce or a separation of some sort, want to go back to dating again. It's like almost like this kind of like moving into the future is moving into the past. I want to go back to where I started. I want to go back to a place where I feel free, like I can do anything. Not wanting to grow up. quite yet. Maybe having overshot and gotten yourself into a situation that is too much or something. Like, this is lovely energy as well, right? So I'm just not one to read the story going this way. Not usually. I'm not sensing that in this reading, that the story is actually going from, young age to being a bit of a leader to dating to marriage. That would be like, the traditional path. I just keep seeing it going that way. Like, I wish I could turn back time. Oh, what's that song? I've got to let this reading go because I have to go. I have an appointment. There we go. Yeah, the painter. That chaotic energy draws us. We're headed somewhere toward a commitment. Look at this is kind of like a spine, a snake crawling up a spine for anybody who's resonating originally. We're headed somewhere, and I don't think there's this draw, this distraction. Things used to be a whole lot simpler. Things used to be a lot easier when we were kids. And now all of a sudden it's getting real serious real fast. Hold your focus on where you feel drawn to go. Remember that this is a matter of time. Wheel of Fortune. If you can hold your focus by thinking about how this plays out over time. How does it play out over time, people who never grow up? You only have so much time as a young person. Whether it's a child in the playground or it's somebody who never stops going to the club and who never stops partying in that way. After a certain period of time, this chaos turns into something different. This healthy amount of chaos turns into something totally different. So basically remind yourself that everything has a limited amount of time. And so if you're worried about this commitment that you're making now, it too will have a limited amount of time that it'll be passing through. You'll be passing through this energy. If you're feeling a bit creeped out by somebody at a bar, literally, just remember that you can just have a limited amount of time with this person. You can just pass through this energy and keep on going. If you're feeling good about something, just know that over time, you'll pass through this energy and into something. And wherever you plant your feet, you'll bleed into. So give this person as much attention as you feel like you're ready to involve them into your next phase of things. And give this energy as much attention as you're willing to involve it in this next phase of things, because you're going to be bleeding your heart into all of it, wherever you plant your feet, just like that, dear. Well, I really like this message. I feel very happy that it came out. I feel a lot more grounded for myself because I was feeling like I was worried about my energy draining and where I was draining my energy. I feel very good about that. So I'm going to leave the reading here. Now, Colin and Dirk are passed out to sleep. I can see them. So they're not going to be coming for a visit. Colin came first because he's like, I'm going to have a nap, so I'm going to do my visit first. Dirk is literally covering his face with his paws. He doesn't want to hear nothing about it. So I hope you all take care. I'm going to end this reading now. I'll upload it right away. And you can definitely shoot me an email. I'll put my email address in the comments there, or in the kind of description thing. I'll put it in there, as well as the link. If you have anything for donation, feel free to toss something into the hat if you like this reading. More on the way sometime soon in the near future. I might stream, I don't know, later today, I'm not sure. We'll see. I might record more readings. We'll see how it goes. Yeah, I'm almost going to be late for my next appointment, so I'm going to go. I have a hard time letting the collective energy just kind of like putting it down, and I want to make sure that everybody's feeling great. if you're resonating with this reading, I'll try to do one in the near future that kind of expands on it as best as I can, or to kind of take it in a different direction, because I know I just kind of like threw it out there. Yeah, take care. I hope you have a great day. Peace.